This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News, meet a local student who expresses her culture through dance.
MSUM brings a classic horror film to stage for their spring musical.
See how Concordia Baseball is naming their field in honor of a legendary coach.
But first, meet the newest leader of MSU Moorhead that has the campus in full celebration. Good morning and welcome to Campus News. I'm Brian Ashburn.
And I'm Jessica Gulseth. A new era began at Minnesota State University Moorhead as the school rallied behind its newly appointed president, Dr. Ann Blackhurst. MSU Chancellor Stephen Rosenstone officially introduced Blackhurst as president-elect, as she will become the 11th president this summer. Reporter Brianne Lensmeyer attended the announcement and joins us in the studio with more. Brianne?
Brian, Jessica, for the past 3 years, Blackhurst played a significant role as provost, leading the university through some major changes. But when you walk around the hallways, you can tell. She's not your average administrator. Students affectionately refer to her as simply Ann, because of her approachability and passion for the university.
It feels a little like a pep rally in here today, which frankly matches my mood perfectly.
Ann Blackhurst greets members of the community as they file into a room filled with dragon pride in anticipation of her announcement as the next president. They cheered and showed their support.
So my first act as president is going to be to severely discipline whoever came up with this.
Ann expressed her enthusiasm and passion about her new role at the university.
That I cannot think of anything more meaningful than serving as the 11th president of Minnesota State University Moorhead.
She told of how she wants to be a leader for the university.
I pledge to lead with the kind of passion that inspires others to commit to the university and its mission.
And what it means to attend school here.
Minnesota State University Moorhead is a special place, and as dragons, we are a special breed.
She has made it her mission to be an advocate for the students.
She wants to know the students, I can definitely tell.
And her presence is strongly felt.
Yes, Ann is everywhere.
From a congratulations sign to the positive reaction, students are showcasing their excitement about the future of MSUM. And she doesn't plan on getting a slow start to her presidency.
I'm excited to hit the ground running.
Although the day was centered around one person, the pride felt all over MSUM was undeniable.
Go Dragons! Go Dragons!
Go Dragons!
It's a great day to be a dragon. Woo!
President-elect Blackhurst will officially take office July 1st. Reporting in studio, Brianne Lensmeyer, Campus News.
Area colleges gathered to honor a rich tradition for one of our region's most cultured groups, American Indians. MSUM hosted the 25th annual Woodlands and High Plains Powwow. People from tribes across the Midwest and Canada came together to celebrate their deep history and join in traditional tribal activities.
Carrying on traditions, it's learning from our elders and then sharing with the young ones.
The powwow was a collaboration between MSUM, NDSU, Concordia, and M-State, where the female head dancer attends school. Reporter Jordan Schreier has more on this student's journey to continue a cherished tradition.
Quinn Goodwin Chafee welcomes us to the Woodlands and High Plains Powwow as she prepares to be the head female dancer, paying tribute to those in the past.
Whenever we're dancing and someone's feather falls, it represents like a fallen soldier. It's the most sacred part of our regalia.
As she prepares to celebrate her heritage, she recalls the past.
I was 1.5 or 2. It was our hometown powwow, and I remember my dad telling me that I was out there and I just danced all day long.
Dancing at celebrations around the country, even commemorating lives lost on the Red Lake Reservation after a school shooting.
There was a girl who was one of the star basketball players. Her name was Chanel Rosebear, and she ended up dying in the school. We danced for the people who can't dance anymore.
But today, her dance is a celebration.
Mine specifically tells the story of a butterfly. That's why when I dance, I have a shawl, and you're going to see me doing a lot of spinning, a lot of footwork, really, really quick movements around the circle.
Bringing many in the audience through a spiritual journey.
I've had people before come up to me and tell me like, oh, it made me cry, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's people who've never seen dancing before.
As the beating drums become one with the heart,
And that's what we believe it's a heartbeat of our nation.
Quinn plans on celebrating her heritage for years.
I want to dance for as long as our Creator allows me to.
Inspired by previous generations and inspiring generations to come. With photographer Naoya Uchida, Jordan Schreier, Campus News.
In the past, Quinn placed second in a National American Indian Dance competition.
Students at MSUM are going out of their way to hit the books in the newly renovated Livingston Lord Library. After over 10 years of planning and 2 full years of construction, the library unveiled the sleek redesign. It features a monumental spiral staircase, a new entrance, and technologically advanced study rooms. The renovation cost about $19 million. The library staff says students have been receptive to the renovations, and they've already noticed an increase in foot traffic. They say they're hoping to do an official opening ceremony during homecoming celebrations this fall.
From Monopoly to Scrabble, board games provide a fun pastime for people of all generations. Reporter Onize Ohikere takes us into a classroom where creating board games has become a tool for learning.
Behind this door is not your normal classroom, as the students do not have regular classes. They play games. At MSUM, the technical report writing class teaches students to write documents commonly found in business. But to get started, the students must first build games that will serve as a theme for all their papers.
My mom owns a coffee shop, so her and I was telling her about this assignment we had, and we came up with the idea.
Beyond making and playing board games, the class instructor, Professor Rand Christensen, believes the games help keep the coursework more connected.
I came up with the idea of using the game to help tie together all of the different documents that they need to write, so that when they are writing their resume and letter of application, it's for the game company.
Oh, we gotta go in there.
And when they then write their proposal and instructions and feasibility report, each one builds upon the knowledge gained from the previous documents.
Once you get 10 points, you get to choose.
And at the end of the class, the students create portfolios that would include all the work they completed.
Something that helps bring back memories from when you were younger, as well as combining those with new ways of doing things.
As the games continue,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The students build an experience that teaches them brainstorming and creativity.
He's learning!
With photographer Darby Fike, Onize Ohikere, Campus News.
At the end of the semester, students will present their games during an on-campus game fair.
Healing can be a difficult process, but a recent speaker at MSUM is hoping to inspire college students to use art as a way to cope with different problems. Reporter Meredith Watney has more.
Hey, healing and hope, yeah!
Students recently gathered in Glasgow Auditorium to hear testimonies of hope.
By sharing testimony, it not only helps to get that burden off of our shoulders, it actually encourages someone else as well.
Kit Evans, a hope artist and inspirational speaker, shared her experience of surviving a sexual assault.
I said, no, you don't want my body, you don't want my body, you want money.
Her dance of healing, and stories from hope artists around the world.
And so he became paralyzed from the waist down. You have different ways of artistic expression, and to know that you can use those gifts to do something positive.
Spoken word artist Joe Davis opened the evening for Kit.
I love you. I love you at your best. I love you at your worst. I love you in a dress or sweatpants and t-shirt.
Sharing his experiences and advice through poetry.
It really makes me feel alive, and I'm very passionate about it. So sometimes I just forget, the world around me just melts away, and I'm just in the zone.
Students from colleges across the Fargo-Moorhead area came to hear Kit speak.
Kit was something else.
With the biggest take-home being
hope, and to not be afraid to show hope.
Take everything, every negative, and to flip it.
With photographer Sari Swidajewski, Meredith Watney, Campus News.
Again, hope. Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause.
You can learn more about Testimonies of Hope and Hope artists by visiting testimoniesofhope.com. The MSUM Wind and Percussion Ensemble got the chance to perform alongside of a Pulitzer Prize winner. More than 20 musicians from the MSUM Wind and Percussion Ensemble performed in Inuksawit, an hour and 15-minute long piece composed by John Luther Adams, who won the Pulitzer Prize in Music in 2014. They performed in the outdoor campus mall, representing native Inuksawit statues found in the Alaskan wilderness.
And we saw a lot of people cycle in and out, and we saw quite a few people that stayed for the entire hour and 15-minute long piece, and I thought that was great. People that were just kind of sitting with open ears and open hearts and kind of just letting the sounds all soak in, and I thought that was really wonderful.
The ensemble also played this piece in Duluth with over 60 musicians from around Minnesota.
Members of MSUM's School of Communication and Journalism put together a series of collages to honor the work of a photography professor.
I met with Reggie Radnicki to hear about her career before her days as a teacher.
I'm the only one that got this picture. Everybody else had this really boring picture, and I had this one.
Reggie Radnicki, a professor at MSUM, is remembering her days as a photographer.
Well, this is the first picture that I took for the Star Tribune.
As she looks at the display of photos honoring her years of photography, she flashes back to the days of traveling.
I traveled all through Europe.
And capturing moments.
I like people.
She remembers dropping equipment.
This priest got hit on the head with a camera. That was me.
Her sleeping arrangements at Wounded Knee.
I had to sleep in the church.
And how snapping a memorable photo
Mondale
sparked jealousy among her peers.
And I'm the only one that got this photograph. And I'll tell you, I was literally the most hated photographer in the state of Minnesota.
The students and faculty of MSUM put together this display to show off some of Reggie's greatest work.
I think Reggie is a fantastic professor. Obviously, seeing her work, she is very experienced, very knowledgeable about photojournalism.
Reggie will be leaving MSUM and retiring soon.
I will miss my students here.
But her adventure won't stop in this hallway.
He is the one that decided to come to America.
Reggie hopes to use her experience as a photojournalist to discover the Radnicki family.
Reggie plans to write a book about her family who came to the U.S. from Poland.
Fargo Moorhead is one of the largest producers of sugar beets in the country. NDSU recently hired a sugar beet agronomist as part of its extension service to help local farmers. Thomas Peters is a sugar beet agronomist who focuses on weed control. Peters will conduct research on the type of weeds that grow in sugar beet fields and how to best control them while keeping the plants safe. While Peters hasn't started research yet, he plans to get samples of weeds from farmers at the end of the beet season so they know how to defend against them in the next crop.
So if we're interested in control of a certain weed, we'd rather identify growers that have that weed problem and work on farm in their fields.
Peters received his doctorate in agronomy from NDSU.
When you think of a typical college diet, you might think pizza, ramen noodles, and junk food. For Elliot Gielen, a college diet consists of dark greens, fresh fruit, and dairy substitutions. Reporter Jocelyn Horsdowski takes us to Concordia College to meet the student with the vegan lifestyle.
Thank you.
Thanks.
When Elliot Gielen enters Concordia College's dining services, he's on a mission.
Leafy greens, dark fruits and vegetables.
A mission to find foods that are not only healthy,
And cucumbers right now.
but also fit his vegan lifestyle.
Similar to vegetarians, vegans don't eat meat. But unlike vegetarians who can eat eggs and dairy, vegans don't eat any animal products at all, which can be a challenge with a college lifestyle.
There certainly have to be more careful in making appropriate choices to get all the vitamins and minerals that they need. And so I think that probably is one of the biggest challenges.
For Elliot, a longtime chef,
I do some red wine vinegar.
making the switch to cooking vegan foods was not only a challenge that he relished, but happily shared with his friends.
He's a really good cook, so he can make, and he's a biology major, so he's really smart. He knows what he's doing, and when I'm just eating it, I'm like, yeah, this is good. I have no problem just eating this all the time.
Not only has Elliot's vegan food made an impact on friends, his healthy lifestyle has too.
Elliot has influenced me to take better care of myself.
Elliot's advice for future vegans is simple.
Just living it as a lifestyle instead of making it a chore.
Elliot hopes to continue his healthy lifestyle long after he graduates. With photographer Hans Kammer, Jocelyn Horsdowski, Campus News.
Out of the 7.3 million vegetarians in the U.S., 1 million of those are vegan.
It's off with the winter hats and on with the helmets as warmer weather brings more bikers to campus. Thanks to one MSUM student, flat tires and loose parts won't be slowing down bikers anytime soon. Brian Peck is a part of the Office of Campus Sustainability at MSUM and took it upon himself to have a bike fix station installed on campus. The fix station has everything a bicyclist needs to get their bike up and running, including an air pump and a selection of tools to use for minor repairs.
If you want to get your bike tires pumped up, that's the main problem with bikes. You have to go to a gas station that could be a mile away or farther or whatever. And if you're going to come to campus anyways, then now you have the option to fill up your bike tires and do what other tune-ups you might need.
The Bike Fix Station is located on the south side of Hagen Hall. Peck hopes the new Bike Fix Station will encourage more people to go green and bike to campus. This is the first Bike Fix Station in the city of Moorhead and was funded by the Green Fee. Imagine getting a doctoral degree in both biomolecular chemistry and medicine. Now imagine doing that while being blind.
Reporter Arisita Serrano introduces us to a man who's overcome obstacles to follow the path of knowledge.
As everyone closes their eyes, audience members are getting a small glimpse into the life of Dr. Tim Cords, a man who earned 2 degrees from the University of Wisconsin while blind. Cords, who earned a doctorate in biomolecular chemistry and a doctor of medicine, gave a talk entitled "It Can Be Done."
I want them to know that the things we think are impossible may actually be possible.
One of Cords' earlier experiences of battling with the impossible came when he was 16. It was a time when most of his friends were learning how to drive, and Cords was getting his first guide dog.
I realized that anything is possible, really. I'm just so amazed at all the things that he's accomplished. It's amazing.
For audience member Deanna Bakken, who received a 4-year degree while living with cerebral palsy, this talk reminded her of similar struggles.
Even if you have to do it differently, it still can be done. You know, you just have to find a way that works for you.
Whether someone is blind, has cerebral palsy, or any other disability, Cords hopes students will walk away with the message of
dream, work hard, risk, achieve, and try again.
With photographer Alyssa Eisnes, Aristida Serrano, Campus News.
Dr. Cordes created a program that allows him to understand protein structures through sound.
In the past, universities have warned students about disruptions during graduation ceremonies, trying to keep the event classy. Nowadays, some universities are more worried about selfies than streaking during commencement. That's the case at Bryant University in Rhode Island. President Ronald Makeley told students to hold off on taking selfies with him during commencement. He says this is an attempt to speed up graduation process, which is already hours long. Students with hopes of snapping a selfie with the president can get the pictures after the ceremony. Most of us have a memorable prom experience, but none quite compared to Stephen King's story of Carrie.
Reporter Ariana Babcock takes a look at MSUM's rendition of the classic horror film.
Students are dancing and singing their way through a musical that may have some audience members scared out of their seats.
You know, in all her life she's been bullied, and then all of a sudden she's the prom queen, and then all of a sudden it just goes like this, bam.
The bam referring to Carrie killing almost everyone at prom using her supernatural powers. Most people remember Sissy Spacek's performance as Carrie in the 1976 film.
And we're like, Carrie? Like Sissy Spacek? Like Carrie? Like blood? Like, okay.
Horror and being scared is very difficult to do in the theater because we get so accustomed to special effects.
Having limited special effects, Kate knows that in order to play the role of Carrie, she has to work even harder to become genuinely scary.
There's been moments where I've actually scared a few of my other cast members because I've done things where I'm just like, all of a sudden I'm gonna go from this to and it's scary because I don't realize I'm doing it.
What she does realize is her emotional attachment to Carrie after having to watch her character's life end.
I lost it. I had to go away from rehearsal for a little bit because I was so affected by the context.
The scenes can be emotional, like when students bully Carrie White and taunt her with nicknames like Scary White.
We We have all had issues in high school. Whether we were popular or not, we still had to deal with that coming of age.
Some cast members say at any age it is important to ask yourself, what does it cost to be kind? With photographer Megan Nearing, Ariana Babcock, Campus News.
The last performance of Carrie is tonight at 7:30 p.m. at MSUM's Gaiety Stage.
And now we turn it over to Kenny Buck for a look at this week's sports.
So it sounds like the new NDSU football coach is doing well.
Yes, first spring game without Craig Bull, Brock Jensen, Marcus Williams, all these stars. It was interesting to see a new look for the NDSU Bison. The NDSU football team held its annual Green and Gold game last Saturday in front of a crowd of 4,500 Bison faithful. The event started with the ring ceremony for last year's championship team, including three-time FCS champion quarterback Brock Jensen. But there was a football game to be played as the Bison team looked a little different than previous years. First-year coach Chris Kleiman watched from the offensive sideline, an area he's trying to become more familiar with.
I really enjoyed it. I got to know a lot of those offensive players extremely well, and I'm excited about the progress we made this spring.
The Gold offense proved victorious over the Green defense 29-22. Cuts, scrapes, and bruises are fairly common for the NDSU rugby teams, but it's not just because of the rough sport they play. It's from the dangerous conditions of their field. Reporter Haley Foster has the story.
Right across the street from the Bison softball field is a tiny green shack surrounded by a patch of dirt. Welcome to the NDSU Club rugby field.
There isn't much that's going right with our field. It used to be a construction dump site, so there is rebar, and we continuously find giant concrete block pieces or just big holes develop, and it's really just not safe overall for us to be playing on.
The team has found many items in all shapes and sizes on the field. From this shard of glass to this concrete slab, now used as a step.
My first game that I ever played there, I ended up with little pebbles of asphalt embedded in my cheek for over a month.
The team was recently denied a $33,000 budget to improve the field conditions. Now, there is a proposal that could lead to construction on the site. This means that the rugby clubs may be forced to find a new field altogether. Wherever they do end up, they just hope it's a safe place to play. Haley Foster, Campus News.
The NDSU rugby teams are still using the field and will be hosting their snafu tournament all day today. The unpredictable weather in the Fargo-Moorhead area can make it hard for scheduling, let alone competing in athletics. But for NDSU softball, home is where the plate is. Bison softball has been forced to practice on the football field, but the odd playing conditions haven't been much of a factor to a team that spent most of the year away from home.
On the road, we can control everything from meals to bed checks and things like that. And right now we've been on the road for 10 weeks in a row, so our routine is actually, we're more accustomed to being on the road than we are at home.
Roaming the country from Florida to California, the Bison have compiled a 24-13 road record. They currently hold the #1 seed in the Summit League with 5 games remaining before the conference tournament. Dragon Athletics held their annual spring celebration last Saturday, hosting a variety of events. There were several games scheduled for the day, including a Dragon softball doubleheader against Sioux Falls. Fans and students could check out the Dragon Fire Grill, offering brats, chips, and pop. Concordia baseball is in a battle for the playoffs, all while their legendary coach prepares for his final battles from the dugout. I spoke with the coach, his successor, and players about what he's meant to Concordia.
I can sit here and talk about baseball until the cows come home.
Bucky Burgow. For 37 years, the name has been synonymous with Concordia baseball.
Concordia baseball is Bucky Burgow and vice versa.
But for Bucky, 37 years has been long enough.
I'm 64 years old, so it's sneaking up there a little bit, and Chris is in his low 40s, and he's ready to take over a program.
Bucky will swap roles with Chris Coast, a coach and former player under Bucky.
He'll still coach third base. He'll still make a lot of the decisions. That's the one good thing about him is since the day he brought me on board, he's let me kind of run the team.
To his players, he's been more than just a coach.
The things he teaches you as a player throughout your years here, it goes on later in life. It's life lessons that, stick with you.
But to Concordia, Bucky's value cannot be expressed in words, which is why the college is naming their field after the beloved coach.
It only makes sense that this would be Bucky Burgow Field and eventually nicknamed the Buck. It just, I mean, how could it not?
To talk about something like that, that's been a little hard for me. It's very humbling, very deeply honored. That's about the only words I can come up with.
The coach appreciates the sentiment, but he hasn't forgotten what matters most.
We do have a doubleheader to play, and that is the most important part of the day.
The naming ceremony will take place Monday as the Cobbers take on Bethel. And guys, the new coach, Chris Coast, won a World Series with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thanks, Kenny. Everyone loves a good book, and MSUM students are hoping to inspire children to find a love for reading.
Reporter Noor Alamran takes us to the Young Reader event, where students are celebrating literacy.
I really like trains. We have a lot of train books.
It's not every day that students get to work alongside children, but when they do, they build unforgettable memories. Students at MSUM are able to be part of the Young Readers Day because of a unique program.
This is an event hosted by EMSP, which is Education Minnesota Student Program. It's an educational org that we have on campus.
We just do a lot of good things for education majors to connect with the community and with students. And this is just one of those events where we're, with those kids and getting kind of used to being around them.
This event is not only for students to volunteer, it's also to show how important reading is for children.
Young Readers Day, it's just an event to encourage them to read and to help them realize the value of reading and the importance of it, because it helps enhance their literacy development.
The day was filled with many different activities for children to participate in.
We have cookies and juice and read aloud. There's a book walk for kids to win books.
Do you want to pick out a book? Yeah?
There's coloring. There's a book drive so they can bring books to donate for underprivileged kids, and then they can also exchange those books if they want to, so they could have a brand new library if they choose.
At the end of the day, volunteers inspired literacy one page at a time, and the children walked out with stories to share. With photographer Darby Fike and Nick Broadway.
All right, he's going to give you a stamp on your hand.
Noor Al-Hamdan, Campus News.
The event was part of Dragons Give Back, a week of community service projects. And that's it for this edition of Campus News and our last show of the season.
We leave you with another look at the powwow.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next year.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the School of Communication and Journalism at Minnesota State University Moorhead in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.